We've also got Nick Ferguson, a Denver radio host after an NFL career that included on the field and coaching as well. Nick, thank you so much for joining us here. It's Damon and Ratto, but Ray's off today. Our friend Larry Krueger is in for Ray, so it's good to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. We've always enjoyed our conversations, and now that it's 49ers in Denver, I don't know if there are any two teams in the NFL, Nick, who had whatever the feeling of positivity was brimming around the organization and training camp, have so much air let out of the balloon going into week 3 with 1-1 records. You would think both these teams, based on the way that they've been covered in the last couple of weeks, were collectively both 0-5.
Well, yeah, you would definitely think that, but that goes to the level of expectations that both teams came into the season with. At first, it was Trey Lance with the 49ers and with the possibilities of what he could do with Jimmy, I guess, being pushed to the backup quarterback role. But, I mean, just think about a change of a couple of weeks, and now Jimmy is back as the starting quarterback. To me, it's going to make things really interesting for the 49ers kind of moving forward beyond the season, especially with Trey having that ankle injury. As it pertains to the Denver Broncos, new ownership, new head coach, new quarterback, and it's something that the Broncos country has been searching for a while, a quarterback they can call their own. Now they have one, but things haven't really looked as everyone expected them to look. So Sunday night's game is going to be a test of wills, but it's going to be a test of two quarterbacks, not quarterbacks, offensive coordinators that run a similar system, and we get a chance to see who does it best.
Denver coming in, I mean, 25 penalties in 2 games, 16 players on the injury report. You mentioned all the new personnel. How settled are they going into this third game?
Well, there are some concerns, but there still is some optimism as well. The concern is the number of penalties. When you look at the fact that 2 games the team has had over 100 penalties, that's a lack of focus and a lack of discipline. And usually the way it works in the NFL is either you're coaching or you're allowing it to happen. So here in Denver, a lot of fingers have been pointed at Nathaniel Hackett as far as trying to get his players to commit less penalties. And that's kind of hard to do because when you go out there as players, no one wants to make mistakes, but sometimes the mistakes happen, but you can't have guys constantly jumping off sides, false starts, and just not lining up properly as far as formation. Like last Sunday against the Texans, they didn't even have a guy on the field as a punt returner. See, so that bodes well to the problems that are constantly going on here in Denver that they definitely need to fix. But I will tell you this. The players are looking at this situation and saying they can correct a lot of these mistakes. These are personal mistakes. These are not mistakes that are being made because they don't understand the system. So that's where the optimism comes from.
Nick Ferguson here on 95.7 The Game, radio host now in Denver after a career in the NFL. And, I was really surprised, and this is going back 2 weeks to Russell returning to Seattle, that he didn't take more of a leadership role and call a timeout when they had plenty of timeouts to still call, and basically just go over to his new coach and say, look, man, they didn't give me $250 million to watch 64-yard field goals on 4th and 5. You might want to run a play here. Like, I don't think that that's undercutting anyone's newfound authority or anything like that. Nick, are you surprised that Russell Wilson hasn't turned into more of an on-field vocal leader to get this team through the rough patch growing pains that the head coach is obviously having?
No, I'm not. And once again, just knowing Russell is always a team-first type of player, and a lot of those discussions happen on the sideline between offensive coordinator Justin Allen and Nathaniel Hackett, and then that kind of trickles down to Russ. And Russ is going to say, okay, well, what's the best thing you think that we need to do offensively? And he's going to do that. Now, I will say this. I would like for him not to be that guy all the time, but Russell in his career, and we've all come to know Russell as being that type of guy, but to make sure that the Broncos are actually able to score inside the red zone, we're going to need to see a different type of Russ.
The 49ers have a lot of talent on their D-line. Bosa's on pace for like 25-something sacks. He gets Garrett Bowles, but the matchup I'm looking for in this game is Samson Ebukam against Cam Fleming who was here in college at Stanford, but he's kind of a journeyman. What do you think? I mean, Russell's numbers, Nick, are terrible this year against pressure. I expect he'll be pressured quite a bit Sunday night.
Well, yeah, obviously that's kind of the way that you neutralize any quarterback is to kind of blitz him and try to get him off his spot. But here's something that we have not seen all season long from Russell that we've seen in years past, and that's been the ability to escape the pocket and extend the play. He hasn't really done it. Now, he'll get outside the pocket, but he's not crossing that line to pick up those extra yards. He's always looking to throw. So Cam Fleming, the right side of the Broncos' offensive line, has been somewhat of an issue over the past couple of years. Cam had his issues against the Texans in their pass rush. So just like you, I'm interested to see how Cam handles that situation. But one way to help Cam is Russell getting outside the pocket and making it difficult on the edge rushers for the San Francisco 49ers.
Nick, it feels like we've been given a long list with all the scrutiny of the Broncos of what they haven't done well. What have they done well? What is their strength right now as a football team?
Well, they've moved the ball effectively up and down the field over the past 2 weeks. The problem is inside the red zone. If you were to ask Kyle Shanahan, he would tell you the same thing, or for that matter, ask any play caller in the NFL. Once you get inside that red zone, that field is reduced. So there's so many plays that you can actually run, but this is where having a mobile quarterback who's able to escape the pocket that can actually, once again, put stress on the defense and pick up those 2 or 3 yards that's required to touch the pylon. But what the Broncos have done well is that they've run the ball. And you got to think about it. We're talking about Nathaniel Hackett and Kyle Shanahan that run somewhat of a similar offense. It's a different version. Nathaniel Hackett is running. But the Broncos have run the ball well with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. But here's something else that they have done well. Switching to the defensive side of the ball, they haven't given up a touchdown in the past 6 quarters. And going back to that San Francisco game against the Seattle Seahawks, Jimmy G came in, but they had their issues too in the red zone. They had a fumble. They had to settle for Robbie Gould field goals. So once again, that tells you once you get inside the red zone, it is still tough. And I don't care who you are as an offensive coordinator.
Niners O-lines look pretty good, but look who they faced, right? They faced 2 D-lines that are not premier. Now here comes DJ Jones. Draymond Jones, the Buckeye kid, is looking tremendous. You got Randy Gregory there. You got Bradley Chubb. To me, that's the question in this game is can the Niner offensive line block Chubb and Gregory off the edges and kind of, set the tone up front?
Well, here's a matchup that I'm looking forward to because Bradley Chubb is going to be aside of Trent Williams. And watching Trent Williams this season and last season, I mean, some of the best defensive linemen, he's grabbed them and tossed them around like rag dolls. That's one of the reasons that made him a top tackle in this league. So the matchup is going to be Randy Gregory on Mike McGlinchey. Can Mike McGlinchey get in his pass set and not allow Randy Gregory to use his athleticism to get around the corner to get to Jimmy? Because we all know this. Jimmy is not mobile. He used to run. There was one point in time that he would pull the ball down and scramble, but after he got hurt in the Kansas City game, Jimmy doesn't scramble that much. So when you watch the tape on Jimmy, the pass rushers know that, hey, listen, Jimmy's going to be at 8 yards deep if that's his drop in the shotgun, and he's not really going to move. If he does, it may be 1 yard stepping up in the pocket to try to give himself an opportunity to throw down the field. But Kyle knows this just as much as I do. DJ Jones was an intricate part of that defense that they ran in San Francisco, and he's going to look to get into the chest of Jimmy Garoppolo on Sunday night.
Nick, thank you so much, man. It was great catching up with you before this one. Always appreciate your time. Enjoy the game.
All right, you guys do the same.
Thank you very, very much. Nick Ferguson.